Hey, Anime Guardians fans, whether you're a newbie, just starting out, or a seasoned pro tearing through the battlefield, I know you're all curious about one thing. What's the meta looking like right now? Well, we've got you covered. We went ahead and tested every single unit in the game to find out who's dominating and who's, well, not quite making the cut. So buckle up and get ready, because in today's video, we're ranking every unit from the absolute best to the ones you might want to avoid. Whether you're looking to crush the competition or just want to know who's worth investing your time and resources into, this tier list is your ultimate guide. Let's dive right in and see who's claiming the top spots in Anime Guardians. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking units in Anime Guardians. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Subaru and Nachi. Alright, let's dive into the depths of the D tier for Anime Guardians, where dreams go to die and units barely survive. We're talking about those units that, honestly, you'd probably bench before you even finish reading their names. And yes, we're starting with Subaru. Now, Subaru here is supposed to be a single target DPS machine, right? In theory, he's all about quick, successive attacks. But here's the kicker. His DPS output is so underwhelming, it's like watching someone trying to cut down a tree with a butter knife. I mean, you keep waiting for something impressive to happen, but spoiler alert, it doesn't. And then we've got Nachi, the hill version of Kilu, and you'd think, hey, more range, that's gotta be good, right? Well, not exactly. Sure, Nachi can hit targets from further away, but he takes forever to actually land those hits because of his ridiculously long cooldown. It's like giving someone a bow and arrow, but making them wait a full minute before they can knock another arrow. And the damage? Let's just say you'll be waiting a while for him to actually finish anything off. In the end, both Subaru and Nachi might look appealing on paper, but once you put them in action, it's a one-way ticket to Frustration City. Subaru's attack speed might be fast, but the damage is a whole other story, one we'd rather not read again. And Nachi, despite his range advantage, is just way too slow to make a real impact. Bottom line, these two are perfect examples of why you shouldn't judge a unit by its description alone. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Mish, Rom, Emilian, Ekongina, Nemilian, Ikongo, and Kilu. Alright, listen up, anime warriors. If you're stuck with the C tier in Anime Guardians, I feel your pain. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Today we're talking about the units that sit in that awkward middle ground. Those C tier guys who'll carry you, but only if you have zero other options. Let's dive into these heroes that may or may not deserve your precious roster slots. Starting off with Mish. Now, I know he's a mythic, and you're probably thinking, but mythics are supposed to be good, right? Yeah, not really. Mish here is just slightly better than Rem, but trust me, that's not saying much. If your box is looking emptier than a deserted island, then you can throw Mish in there. But honestly, don't expect miracles from this guy. More like mildly helpful at best. Speaking of underwhelming, we've got Rom, a unit that just keeps showing up on banners like an uninvited guest. Her AoE skill is weak, her range is sad, and you're left wondering why she's mythic in the first place. She's basically a placeholder until you pull someone better, way better. If you're still using Rom late game, it's either out of loyalty or because RNG absolutely hates you. Now, Emilian, or Elia, depending on who you ask, is a bit more promising. She's got that AoE potential when you upgrade her, and her slow is a nice touch. Honestly, she's one of those solid starter types. If you pull her early on, she'll do just fine for a while, but don't expect her to hold the fort forever. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Miwok, Susuna, Gogo, Flieren, Beauty, Rudy, and Oso. Alright, listen up, fellow Anime Guardians enthusiasts. We've got some real gems in the B tier lineup that might not be the flashiest, but they'll definitely hold the line if you use them right. So, if you're looking for some solid picks to get you through those early waves or need some dependable units before you snag those S tier legends, this is the spot to be. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty details of these B tier units and see what makes them tick. First up, let's talk about Miwok. Or should I say, the budget Mihawk. This dude's pretty handy if you're struggling to deal with those pesky flying units, especially early on. Once upgraded, he can hit those air threats, which is a lifesaver if you're missing hill units. He's not gonna dish out earth-shattering damage, but for a low-cost, low DPS option, Mihawk is reliable in the early waves. It's like having a dependable sidekick that never lets you down. Now, Susuna. I know, no evolution yet, but hear me out. When fully upgraded, Susuna burns enemies with his attack. Plus, his base DPS actually beats Gojo, which is wild, right? The problem is that without that Evo, there's not much reason to roll for him right now unless you're really digging his burn style. He's a solid pick, but if you're saving those gems, I'd say hold off until we know he's getting an upgrade. But hey, for what he's worth, Susuna can definitely put some heat on the battlefield. And speaking of Gojo, or as we call him here, Gogo, this guy is the ultimate round starter. His low cost and full AoE are fantastic for getting those waves cleared quick. Plus, when you max him out, he's got high base damage, great range, and a super low cooldown. Did I mention he's a hybrid? Yeah, that means he can hit flying enemies too. Honestly, the biggest downside is that he doesn't have an evolution, so you've got to ask yourself if you want to invest in him now or hold out for something more future-proof. Last but not least, let's chat about our hill units, Flieren, Beauty, and Rudy. Flieren's good right off the bat. She can hit flying units on spawn, making her a nice option, but with all these new hybrid units popping up, she's feeling a bit, well, old school. Beauty, on the other hand, is one of the rare hill units in the game, so you'll need her for dealing with flyers, but that's pretty much her whole shtick. And Rudy, man, even though he's a hill unit, he can't hit flyers. Yep, you heard that right. His stats are decent, but without that flying attack, it's a hard sell. Osto, though, is a neat little farm unit. He doesn't ask for much and works well on just upgrade 2, helping you farm and upgrade faster for those tougher story missions. So yeah, these B tier units might not have the flashiest moves or the highest damage numbers, but they've got their own niche. Whether you're looking for early wave clears, farming assistance, or just something to hit those flying enemies, they've got you covered. Just remember, B tier doesn't mean bad, it just means you gotta be smart with how you use them. Keep your strategies tight, and these units can still pull through for you when you need them most. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Satalan, Ramosu, Sung, Ikongo Bankai, Iozort, Kafla, and Alon Phase. Alright, buckle up, because we're about to dive into some serious powerhouses in Anime Guardians, units that you need on your team if you're serious about dominating the game. And yes, I'm looking at you, Satalan mains out there, because we're kicking this off with her. Satalan, she's a bit of a wild card. High damage? Check. Low cooldown AoE attack? Double check. But here's the kicker, she still doesn't have an evolution yet. I know. It's painful, right? She's good, but without that Evo, it's tough to push her into the same league as the heavy hitters. Still, for where she is now, not bad, but don't expect her to carry you in endgame. Next up, we've got Ramosu, aka Rimuru. Now, if you're just starting out, I get why you'd be hyped about rolling him. He's fantastic at breaking down shields with that multi-hit attack. But here's the thing, he also doesn't have an evolution yet. I'm telling you, it's like rolling a unit that's halfway there but just missing that last piece to make them truly OP. So, unless you're new or desperate, I'd say hold off on going all in for Ramosu right now. Now, if you're still with me and looking for some serious firepower, let's talk about Sung Jinwoo. This guy is a beast. High DPS summon unit? Check. But the real deal here is his evolution. It's absolutely broken in the best possible way. He's a top priority role, no question. If you see him on the banner and don't snag him, I'm not sure what to say to you. Sung is a unit you'll be thanking yourself for having when the going gets tough. Oh, and speaking of must-roll units, don't sleep on Ikongo Bankai. If you've got Ichigo already, you're in for a treat with this guy. Both of his evolutions are insane, and honestly, they turn him into a full-on mythic powerhouse. If you're serious about your banner pools, Bankai Ichigo is not one you want to miss. He's a game changer. Finally, let's not forget Aozort and Kafla. Aizen stuns are clutch when you need a breather for your other units to do their thing, and both of his evolutions? Meta as it gets right now. Then there's Kafka, who can practically solo maps with his ridiculous AoE range, like map-wide multi-hit AoE folks. Just don't ask him to deal with flying enemies, it's his one kryptonite. But honestly, evolution or not, these units are some of the best the game has to offer right now. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ikongo Vasto Lorde, Ikongo True Bankai, Aozort Lord Arc, Aozort Hollow Form, and Alon Demon Lord. Alright, so let's dive into the cream of the crop when it comes to S tier units in Anime Guardians. We're talking about the kind of power that makes you feel like you're running the game with just a wave of your hand. And trust me, these units don't mess around. If you want to dominate, these are the ones you need in your squad, hands down. Let's get right into why they're absolute must-haves. First up, Ikongo Vasto Lord. Now, I know what you're thinking, is Vasto Lord really that good? And the answer is, absolutely. This guy is a beast when it comes to handling shields, even more so than his true Bankai counterpart. Sure, he might not have a ton of attacks up his sleeve, but the ones he does have hit hard. Those Evo stats, they make him totally meta-worthy. So, if shields are getting in your way, Ikongo Vasto Lorde is your guy. But hey, don't sleep on Ikongo True Bankai either. This version might not be as strong against shields, but its DPS is off the charts. Like, we're talking insane damage output here. If your team is already covered when it comes to multi-hit capabilities, and you're missing that heavy hitter to deliver some serious pain, True Bankai is the way to go. You're not gonna regret it once you see that damage meter skyrocket. Now, let's switch gears to the legend himself, Eozort Lord Arc. This dude is an absolute meta-defining slow unit. His DPS, super solid, and the best part, he's a hybrid. That means he's going to be useful in pretty much any situation you throw at him. When you need a reliable unit that can keep enemies crawling while dishing out damage, Lord Arc is the one to call. It's like having a cheat code for controlling the battlefield. Speaking of Eozort, can we talk about Eozort Hollow Form for a second? This guy is an AoE, Area of Effect powerhouse. If you want to clear waves like it's nothing and watch enemies drop like flies, this is your unit. Full AoE, insane damage, and a contender for the best mythic unit in the game right now. Honestly, if you manage to pull this guy, you're pretty much set for life. It's a one-way ticket to the top of the leaderboard. Last but definitely not least, Alon Demon Lord. Now, Alon's got crazy high damage, and his SPA, seconds per attack, is pretty low, which means he's pumping out hits like there's no tomorrow. The only downside, his range isn't the best, but honestly, who cares when you're doing that kind of damage? He's one of the absolute strongest units in the game, no question. If you want raw power, Alon Demon Lord is your guy. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Kafla Overpower, Sai, Song Shadow Monarch, and Balm. Alright, listen up. Anime Guardians fans, you know the drill. If you want to dominate the game, you need the absolute best units on your team. And when we're talking S+ tier, we're talking the cream of the crop, the kind of units that make your opponents wish they never even queued up. So, buckle up, because we're diving into the most broken, overpowered characters you need in your squad right now. First up, we've got Kafla, also known as Overpower for a reason. When you get that Evo Kafka fully upgraded, you're basically holding the power of a god. His map-wide full AoE attack isn't just a show, it's multi-hit madness, perfect for shredding through shields like they're nothing. If you want a meta-defining unit, Kafla is your guy. Trust me, he's the kind of character that makes you feel like you're playing on cheat mode. Now, let's not forget about Sai, the one, the only, Saitama. This dude might not even have an evolution yet, but who cares when you're already the strongest? His full AoE, multi-hit attacks pack a punch that other units only dream of. His damage numbers are just bonkers, and honestly, if you're not gunning for him right now, you're playing the game wrong. Make him your top priority, your future self will thank you. And oh, Sung the Shadow Monarch, now that's what I'm talking about. This guy is like a regular SJW, but juiced up to the max. His summons are insane, and with his full AoE, low cooldown, and those massive multi-hit numbers, he's an absolute powerhouse on the battlefield. Oh, and don't even get me started on Balm, aka Bulma. She's basically Osto, but on steroids, no joke. Best farm unit in the game, hands down, and if you want those high scores, you need her in your setup. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.